we wanted to talk about potentially the most underrated country in Africa. Like, tell us about this country. The country is called Kenya, correct?
Yes.
What's your take on Kenya?
So I've been to Kenya twice, 2023 December, and then just last year for 3 months. And to my surprise, I really liked it. Actually, Kenya is super nice. So actually, people are really friendly. Everybody speaks English. It's one of the official languages there. Economy and the middle class is growing based on my observations. And most of the areas are safe to go around. I mean, they also lack some infrastructure. They have some problems around there, but I really liked it. You can enjoy the coast along Mombasa area, Diani, which is getting developed. There's also slightly higher Italian population there. And then you have Nairobi. So Mombasa is more touristy. And then you have Nairobi, which is more business oriented. And it's also getting developed a lot. So you see a lot of condo projects going up and everything. And then also a very young population in general. And one thing I liked about it is you can feel the hunger, people trying to start businesses, very enterprising. It's kind of good to see. You don't feel that in Europe anymore or in these countries. So Kenya for that was really good.
And we also talked about investing in Kenya and how that's like so new of a market there. And you were talking about the potential of buying real estate in Kenya. You're also looking to buy here in Paraguay, correct?
Correct.
Where would you rather buy? And I mean, what we would like to hear are, of course, prices. Would it make sense to buy, and how much does it cost, say, to buy studio apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartments?
So of course it depends on how big you want your apartment to be. So, but let's say 1-bedroom studio normally would start. You're looking at maybe like 55 square meters around there, and the price is around, let's say, 50,000 euros or American dollars, depending on which project you go with. So, and then going all the way up because they tend to build them a little bit bigger in Kenya. You have more space there. So let's say if you buy a 2-bedroom or even 3-bedroom, you're looking at about, let's say, 100 square meters. So 1,000 square feet and up, even higher, like let's say 120 square meters. And then you're looking at maybe $90,000, $100,000 for those.
So you're saying about $1,000 to €1,000 per square meter if it's a studio or a 1-bedroom apartment. And
or a little bit less, depending. And this is in the better parts of the city as well. And the rental yields are really good as well. So
you addressed the issue of overbuilding there, which is something that might happen here in Asunción, Paraguay as well. This has happened all over Southeast Asia, Manila, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, you name it.
That's right.
Do you think that a place in Kenya would see the same issue with overbuilding? Because you also addressed how the people who have the purchasing power to afford these condominiums, right? They're mostly of foreign origin, right? So like naturally, if the country would decide to change its visa policy, making it harder for people to stay. I honestly don't know what the requirements are to obtain a visa there, like a long-term visa, a residence permit. I honestly don't know. We don't really cover it on the channel yet. We should. But what do you think? Because a lot of people are now talking about investing in Kenyan real estate. They are even promoting it on YouTube too. I'm sorry today. So what's your take on this? The whole overbuilding situation in Kenya, is it getting worse?
I think it's still a good time. I wouldn't say Kenya is overbuilt. I would say maybe some neighborhoods in Nairobi, for example, might be getting saturated. For example, the most popular area is Westlands. So this is like the central district area, also very walkable. I walked the whole thing in there. You have malls, restaurants, everything is basically within 10, 15 minutes. Normally, it's also an Uber culture like here, but over there, this is the most, let's say, walkable area around there. And now you see a lot of condo projects and apartment buildings being put up, mostly by, I would say, Chinese, Turkish, and some Kenyan developers. So you also have to watch out for the quality because a lot of it is kind of mediocre quality. So you do pay more for higher quality, let's say. But if you stay out of, let's say, the exclusive areas such as Westlands, you can still buy there because another factor is that UN is moving its headquarters to Nairobi. So that's also going to create more jobs and more expats coming in, let's say, to temporarily live there or whatever, which is good for short-term rentals or even medium to long-term rentals. But there's other neighborhoods like Kilaleshwa, Kilimani, and all these other ones, which are not saturated yet. And I think once that gets full, they'll spill over into these neighborhoods. Then if you go to a place like Mombasa, for example, Mombasa is more of a tourist destination. So you go there to enjoy the sun, the weather, and everything. So some places are getting also more expensive already. If you go for the higher end projects, then yeah, you're looking at, let's say, even even to $200,000 basically for some condos right on the beach. Very exclusive, very nice, of course. Those are nice, but you can also find some bargains if you search for that. But Mombasa, like I said, the pluses are there. The beach is really nice, but you want to go more south towards Diani. Mombasa is more of it's becoming a little bit of a business center. So if you want pure kind of beach, you go to Diani, which is basically about, I would say, half an hour drive from Mombasa and going south towards Tanzanian border. And over there, I think, yeah, it's also, so if you know where to buy, then it's still a good place to buy because you'll get those tourists coming from Nairobi and anybody who's seeking the beach. Another plus, I would say, for Kenya would be in Nairobi, the weather, because it's situated slightly higher. You're always getting around 19 to 27 degrees, never gets super hot. So
that indicates high elevation, doesn't it? Because it's so close to the equator, it should be hotter.
It is, yeah. It is so close to it runs through Kenya, yeah, equator. So
Interesting. Now, you talked about there are more expats in Kenya than before. Obviously, it's growing. The companies that are doing business there are mostly of Turkish and Chinese origins. You said
for the real estate, yeah.
Okay. How does that affect real estate quality?
So if you go look at the showrooms or even the finished apartments that are for sale, so compared to, let's say, European standards or even North American standards, you can see the quality is mediocre, let's say, for the most part. So you'll have to use your judgment and shop around a lot to make sure that you're getting what you want, because you may be buying a new condo, but if you have to renovate after 5 to 10 years because of quality, is also, you have to factor that in. And Turkish developers are about similar to Chinese, let's say, in terms of quality, so about medium.
All right, that's good to know. It's a good piece of information there. Now, who really moves to Kenya? What kind of expats are moving there, and why are they relocating to Kenya? Is it for tax purposes? I personally don't think so.
No, probably not for tax.
It's not as good as it is here in Paraguay or say Panama, or even a lot of places in Europe too. They have much lower taxes than a place like Kenya does, right? So what's the main attraction there? What do you see?
So like I said, main attraction would be, let's say, even if you start, let's say, businesses, because there's a lot of things that are lacking. So anytime you have a problem, you can find a solution. There's a business idea. So there's a lot of that because they have huge infrastructure problems, such as roads and this and that. And there's some things that are lacking. So from business point of view, I think it's a good place to do business. And it's going to become, I think, the central hub for all of East Africa. It's going to be one of the major cities or countries even for Africa in general. And the middle class is growing, so they'll have more spending power as well, which is good for business likewise. And another place, they're using that also for IT, because there's a lot of young graduates and they're highly skilled and they're relatively cheap. So IT companies are also moving there.
So you think the people who are moving there are mostly young entrepreneurs working in the tech sector? Is that a fair assumption?
Even for, let's say, lifestyle choices, I see a lot of people moving there just because of the lifestyle. It's very easygoing. Kenyans are very friendly. It's, like I said, relatively safe. Everybody speaks English. So, like I said, you'll still feel it's majority black population. They have different tribes within, but it's not really an issue there. So I don't experience any racism or anything of that sort. So it's kind of easy.
Which leads me to the next question, because you're white, obviously, right? The proof is in the pudding, right?
Yes.
What do you think about, here, you blend in, that's not you don't stand out a lot here. I mean, yes, I think a little bit too, but what's it like being white in Kenya? Is there a risk there in terms of personal safety? Do you feel just like at home in Canada? Do you feel like in Paraguay?
Okay, so you will definitely stand out. It's still a minority there. I mean, there are some expat communities around there, but I think actually it might work to your advantage. They kind of look at white people as, I don't know, but you'll get preferential treatment in some cases. So, and people are very friendly. And I never experienced any form of violence or been threatened with anything. So I didn't know what to expect when I came there. First, you're on the street, the only white person there. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? I don't know. How are things, because that was my first time in Africa. And I was like, it was just fine. Everything was nice.
A ballsy move to go there alone.
Correct.
For the first time. Well, good. Any final tips you want to pass on to our audience before traveling to Kenya? Any things to consider related to health, like vaccines?
I don't think there is any vaccine requirements for entry unless you go to maybe some deeper parts of Masai Mara, let's say, closer to the Tanzanian border. But otherwise, I don't think you need any vaccinations. And the visa policy has changed as of last January. Before, as a tourist or visitor, you would get 30 days. But as of January of, I think it was last year, they changed it to, or no, sorry, this year, they changed it to 90 days. So now you have 90 days in Kenya, basically, to spend. And in terms of residency, there is a residency through a real estate buy as well. Another thing I point out is if you open a bank account there, another advantage is they pay high interest rate. So if you want to keep your savings there, let's say Kenyan shilling right now, I don't think it's unstable. It's relatively stable for the past couple of years. And bank, depending on how much you invest, they will pay you anywhere between 10 to 15% even.
Mm-hmm.
And if you invest in government bonds and everything, it can go even up to 20%, which is quite high.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing all this information with us today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.